Holy sweet mama of all loving, gosh darn it, what is going on? What happens when a buyer backs out of a deal like before the contract closes? Sometimes we see this crap happen a week before, a couple days before, hours before, you name it, right? So let's talk about that. Like whether you're a buyer, a seller that just got hosed by that, or whether you're an agent representing them. Happy to talk about both. However, before we begin, would you please subscribe to our channel down below? And I'm of course Mike Nelson with Real Estate Fanatics. I have my Calendly link right down here if you want to reach out to me and talk about anything real estate related or non-real estate related. Also, if you wait to the end of the video, you can put some comments down here and we're happy to share any and all resources or nuggets that we have for us. So what happens when that buyer bails out? Sometimes they can bail out in the very beginning, which is like before earnest money is even in place. And they can bail out all the way till, depends on your contract, again, it depends on your state as well. They can also bail out all the way up until the end of the contract or close to closing. There's a lot of key dates and deadlines in there. I probably won't go through that because it's so different from every state, but most states at least have what's called a loan conditions, or there's a contingency deadline. So the loan termination is usually the latter part of the deal because it takes lenders and banks and others a few weeks for appraisals and validation of the buyer's finances and all of those research that they do to make sure that they qualify. Sometimes, unfortunately, the buyers lose a job towards the end of the process, and therefore the lender's not going to loan them money. Other times, bad things happen. COVID threw some wrinkles into some people's lives that unfortunately forced them not to be able to buy. Change their financial world if you get laid off, like we talked about. If you get just various things happen in life, right? That's just the way it goes. Sometimes interest rates change dramatically enough that they didn't lock in. They had the chance, at least in Colorado, to bail out because they don't like the terms and conditions of their loan. Recently, they've added a new deadline in there to assist with that, but that's still a reality. Appraisals don't come back, right? That can be an issue. That has to be negotiated out. If the seller's not willing to match, if the appraisal comes in below value, we've got those conversations happening. Obviously, there's inspection negotiations. So if both parties can't come to agreement on that, that's an issue. There's HOA document review, and this is specific to Colorado anyways, where if both sides, the seller can't really control how much the HOA changes, does or doesn't do, but the seller or the buyer at least needs a chance to look at the documentation, of course. And they may decide that, hey, you can't park semi-trucks, and I drive a semi-truck business, I can't park it out in my front yard, then I'm going to kill the deal, right? So bottom line is, this is kind of what happens in our business, and it just has it. Contingencies are obviously another fickle thing that a lot of times you can't close on the house, hence the contingency, until another house sells. So if their buyer happens to back out 2 days before, that's going to have a ripple effect on your buyers who are trying to buy your house, of course. That could blow the deal up. So a few challenges in there. That's why you want to hire a professional real estate agent, obviously, to represent you, because an experienced one knows how to handle that. Now, they can't prevent somebody losing a job and things like that. That's out of their control. They can at least prepare you for that. So back to this topic of those are kind of the reasons why deals can blow up. Well, what happens when they do blow up? So if you're a seller, you have a couple of options, of course. If the dates and deadlines of those conditional, those dates and deadlines, if you will, if they're beyond those dates and deadlines, there could be legal ramifications to go after that buyer. It's usually more like you get to keep the earnest money, right? However, most of the time, good realtors are keeping their clients in front of their deadlines, which gives them the ability to seek their earnest money back. In any event, once that earnest money dispute is there, from a seller standpoint, you just unfortunately or fortunately have to go back on the market, right? And a good realtor will go into the broker comments in the MLS and will say, hey, this was no fault of the house in the MLS. They will then just say, buyer's loan fell apart, whatever the case is. We don't want some kind of weird stigma that, oh my gosh, what happened to this house? It fell apart. Unfortunately, sometimes deals fall apart 2 or 3 times, and that really is not a fun experience for the seller. So a lot of this is an agent trying to do the best they can to vet the buyers out on the beginning of the process. We can never be 100% perfect. Again, we don't know if somebody's going to lose a job or another party happens to pass away that's on the loan, right? There's just life things that happen. Your realtor should be able to have a good sense of their financial capabilities, qualifications, and things like that. That should really assume that the deal is going to be a higher likelihood of closing. So anyways, that's really the key ingredient, is getting it back on the market ASAP. As soon as that earnest money has kind of been discovered or figured out, put it back on the market, start the whole marketing campaign again, put something into the broker MLS remarks that just says, hey, FYI, this is no fault of the house. It happened because of XYZ. There's some privacy things you can't put in there, of course, based on if somebody was to pass away or whatever. Long story short, it's just starting the marketing over again, and generally it doesn't take long to get them back under contract. You at least, depends on where you're at through the phases, at least if you got through appraisal, you generally will know that what the house is kind of going to be generally valued at. If you don't get through inspection, at least you have an idea of some of those items that might need to be fixed or will be called out. So there is some small benefits to going through it, even if the deal falls apart. So hopefully that was helpful to you. And as we conclude here, would you subscribe to our channel, hit my Calendly link down below, and like our videos. Thank you.